Hey kids, Flexing Teacher Weber here with the next video on algebraic patterns. So we had taken this farmer pattern way back at the beginning. We had drawn pictures of the fencing as it increased in size. We had represented this, this pattern as numbers, and then we discovered some patterns in the numbers. We took those algebraic patterns and we wrote them as an expression and an equation. We used that equation to figure out the number of rails if there were 30 sections of fence. And then we took these numbers from the table and we represented them as ordered pairs or points on a graph. Now what we're going to do next is graph this on something called the coordinate plane, this thing right here. This is a graph. So we've got a horizontal line called the x-axis. And we've got a vertical line called the y-axis. And where they cross is 0.00. We'll call that 0 for now. That's the origin. And these have both positive and negative values on them, but for now, what we'll do is we'll just focus on the positive area. Now we're going to graph sections and rails. Now sections we were calling x, so we're going to put sections right here. And we have to figure out a good scale for our sections. So if you look, x value is sections, and it goes 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's pretty easy to graph. We can go up by ones on our x-axis. Now I like to have a pretty big graph, so I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now our y values will be the rails. We've been calling y rails. So I'm going to call this part rails. Now our rails go 1, 5, 9, 13, 17. Now I have to go up at a consistent rate on my graph, so maybe I'll call every single line 1, and I'll go like this. I'll go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So every line in my graph right here is going up by 1, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But I was only labeling every second point, and that way it just makes the graph doesn't fill up too much with numbers. Now we didn't talk about this, but if I was to go this direction on the x-axis, we would have integers, negative 1, negative 2, negative 3, and so on. And same thing with our y-axis. We'd have negative 2, negative 4. But for this particular pattern, we're not going to have any negative numbers because you can't have negative sections of fencing or negative rails. Now, I should name my graph, though. We should call this the farmer pattern. Okay, and now we're going to graph our points. Our first point we're going to graph is 0, x, y, 1. So I start right here. And 0 on the x I'm not going to move, and I'm going to go up to y1 right there. I'm going to put a point right where those lines cross, and we'll call it 0, 1. The next point is 1, 5. So we'll go across 1 on the x and up 5 on the y. And I'll put a point right there at 1, 5. Now my next point is 2, 9. So I'm going to start at the origin. I'm going to go across 2 on the x. And I'm going to go up 9 on the y. And right in between the 8 and the 10 is the 9. I'm going to put 2, 9 right there. Okay, my next point is 313. So I'm going to start at 0, go across 3, and up 13 on the y. And then my last point is 417. Oops, wrong direction. So I'm going to go across 4 on the x and up to 17 on the y. And I'll put a point right there. And you'll notice what we've got is a straight line. Oh, my last point was off though, 1. It's got to be 4 on the x, right? Oops. So double check that last point. 4 on the x and up 17 on the y should be right there. I think I was at 4.5. So we'll call that 417. And you'll notice we get a linear relationship, a straight diagonal line. We call that a linear graph or a linear relationship. And I'm actually going to put the equation there. This is the graph of this equation. Y equals 4x plus 1. And that's the graph of that equation. So just to go back to the beginning, we started off with this picture. We represented this picture as numbers. We found patterns in these numbers that we represented as an algebraic expression and equation. We used that equation to figure out the number of rails with 30 fence posts. We found ordered pairs for this graph, and then we actually took this pattern and we graphed it. And this pattern, this farmer pattern, is a straight line graph. So these are all the different ways we can represent the algebra in this situation. We're going to do another pattern in another video. So this isn't the end of this yet. We still have another pattern we can look at and find the algebra in it. I hope that helps. That's all for now. Flexing Teacher Weber, out.